The Christmas house that broke my family. At Christmas dinner, my grandpa lifted his glass and smiled across the table. Then he said the words that froze the whole room. "So, do you like the house I bought you?" Every fork stopped mid-air. I blinked, confused. "What house?" I asked. For a moment, no one moved. My mom's hand slipped off her wine glass and her face went pale. Grandpa's smile faded as he pushed his chair back, the scrape of the legs slicing through the silence. "Show me the deed, now," he said. That was the moment everything came undone. But what no one at that table knew, not even Grandpa, was that this dinner had been set up long before anyone sat down. 2 weeks before that night, I wasn't thinking about deeds or houses. I was worried about rent, overdue bills, and whether eating instant noodles 3 nights in a row still counted as dinner. My small apartment in Willow Creek was noisy. The heater rattled louder than my thoughts. But at least it was mine. I paid for it myself, something my parents liked to remind me wasn't enough. Every December, they repeated the same line: "Independence builds character." They usually said it right after posting photos of their ski trips and brand new cars. My mom's messages always started sweet and ended with a jab. "You should learn to manage money like adults do." I never replied. Silence was the only way to keep peace in my family. The only person who never made me feel small was my grandfather, Samuel Whitmore. He was everything my parents pretended to be: calm, disciplined, and fair. When I was 22, he once told me, "Someday I'll make sure you have a place of your own." I thought he meant advice, not an actual house. Grandpa liked plans, not surprises. So when he called me a week before Christmas and said, "This year I have a special gift for you," I didn't think much of it. I laughed. "Grandpa, you don't have to get me anything." He chuckled softly. "Oh, it's already done." That night, I scrolled on social media and saw my parents' latest dinner party, Napa Valley, fancy wine, perfect smiles, captioned, "Family is everything." It felt like a joke I wasn't invited to. At the cafe the next day, I told my friend Maya Torres about Grandpa's call. She raised an eyebrow. "A special gift, huh? Maybe he finally realized you deserve more than their leftovers." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Or maybe it's just another lecture in wrapping paper. Outside, Christmas lights blinked against the rain. Inside, my coffee had done cold. I didn't know it yet, but the gift Grandpa mentioned wasn't under a tree. It was waiting to expose everything I thought I knew about my family. A few days later, I was working on invoices when an unfamiliar email popped up. The subject line read, "Congratulations on the successful sale of the Silver Birch Lane property." At first, I thought it was spam. Then I noticed the address, Silver Birch Lane. My heart skipped. Grandpa had told me once years ago that he wanted to buy a house there, said it had the right kind of sunlight for you. I stared at the screen, my stomach tight. Sold? But sold to who? I called my mom, keeping my voice light. "Hey, random question. Did Grandpa ever buy a house on Silver Birch Lane?" There was a pause. Too long. Then she said, "Oh, that? No, the market crashed that year. Remember? Nothing came of it." "Right," I said slowly, "because I just got this strange email." Her breath hitched. "Grace, you shouldn't open things that aren't yours. You always overthink." Then she hung up. For the first time, her calm voice sounded like fear. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in my apartment felt like a whisper saying, "They lied." The next morning, I called the realtor's office listed in the email, pretending to be a buyer. The agent told me the house had been sold 3 years ago, under the name David Mitchell. My father. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. They'd sold it. The house Grandpa bought. For me. When Grandpa called later to confirm Christmas dinner, I almost told him everything, but something inside me stopped me. I wasn't ready to break his heart yet. Instead, I said, "Of course, I'll be there. I'll bring dessert." That night I looked out my window at the falling snow and whispered, "Okay, Christmas dinner it is." 3 days before Christmas, I went to Grandpa's office. His assistant, Monica Blake, greeted me with her usual polite smile, though something about her eyes seemed off. "I just wanted to drop off his gift early," I said, trying to sound calm. She hesitated, then said quietly, "Mr. Whitmore thought you already moved in." My stomach dropped. Moved in where? Monica looked around, then opened a drawer and handed me a folder. "He talks all the time about how proud he is that you finally have your own place. The one on Silver Birch Lane." I froze. "Silver Birch Lane?" She nodded. "He bought it 2 years ago, said it was under your name. Your parents handled the paperwork." She handed me a photocopy of the deed. My name was there, clear as day. Behind it, stapled to another page, was a sale agreement, signed by David Mitchell. I walked out into the cold, clutching the papers, the air burning my lungs. They'd sold what was meant for me and lied about it. That night I called Maya. "They sold it," I said quietly. She was silent for a moment, then said, "So, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to dinner," I replied. The next morning I met with Michael Rhodes, Grandpa's longtime attorney. I told him just enough to make him frown. "You'll be there, right?" I asked. He studied me. "Do you want me to protect your grandfather or expose your parents?" "Both," I said, "in that order." When I left his office, the snow had started falling again. Willow Creek looked peaceful, but I knew better. Christmas night. The Mitchell family sat around a long table covered in gold light and quiet tension. The chandelier shimmered, the fire crackled, and laughter floated around like something rehearsed. I sat across from my parents, half listening to their talk about investments and vacations. Every word scraped at me. Grandpa sat at the head of the table, smiling like always. He'd always been the center of this family, the part that held us together. He lifted his glass. "To family," he said warmly. Mom smiled back. "Always." For a moment our eyes met. Hers looked a little too polished, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. Grandpa asked about my work, my clients, whether business was steady. "It's fine. Not as profitable as selling someone else's property, though." Mom's fork clinked against her plate. "Excuse me?" "Nothing," I muttered. Grandpa chuckled. "You always were sharp, Grace." Then, almost like testing the air, he leaned forward and said, "By the way, do you like the house I bought you?" The whole room went silent. "What house?" I asked. My mom's hand slipped, wine spilling across the white tablecloth like red paint. Grandpa's expression changed from confusion to anger. "Show me the deed, now." Dad tried to interrupt. "Dad, this isn't the time." "It's exactly the time," Grandpa said firmly. "I trusted you to manage that property for her." Mom's voice cracked. "Samuel, please, we didn't mean to." "Diana," Grandpa said sharply, "don't insult me with another lie." Monica appeared from the side doorway, holding a brown envelope. She handed it to Grandpa. Right behind her, Michael Rhodes entered, carrying a briefcase. "Mr. Whitmore," he said, "I asked you to review some records this week. You'll want to see this." He spread the papers across the table. "This is the original deed. Buyer, Grace Mitchell, signed and notarized." He flipped the page. "And this sold 3 months later by David Mitchell. Funds transferred here." Grandpa's hand shook as he looked at the signatures. "You sold her house, the one I bought for her future." Dad swallowed hard. "We were only managing it. She wasn't ready." "Ready for what?" I snapped. "To have something of my own?" Mom reached toward me. "Honey, we did it for you. You were struggling." I pulled my hand away. "No.
You did it because you thought you could hide it." The air grew thick and still. Then Grandpa stood. The scrape of his chair echoed through the room. "From this day forward," he said, his voice steady, "you don't speak for her again." Mom started crying. "Samuel, please, we didn't mean to." "But you did. And you did it while smiling across my table." He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small velvet pouch. A silver key slid into his palm. He looked at me. "It was always meant for you, Grace. And it still is." He placed it in front of me. I couldn't move. My throat felt tight. Dad suddenly stood up, his chair tipping over. "We're your family. You can't cut us out over some
Misunderstanding. Grandpa's eyes hardened. "You're right," he said. "Your family, but not mine." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom sobbed, "Grace, please, tell him we can fix this." I looked up at her, calm for the first time all night. "You can't fix something you sold." Michael packed up the documents. "We'll begin proceedings in the morning," he said. Grandpa took a deep breath and turned to me. "Merry Christmas," he said softly, not to them, but to me. He rested his hand on my shoulder, the same hand that once taught me how to draw straight lines when I was little. "You always had a good sense of balance," he whispered. I stood, the key cold in my palm. The tree lights flickered behind me, and the air smelled like pine and betrayal. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just stands up. If this story touched something in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true family stories like this.